All right, Miles, let's talk Miami Dolphins. This is a team heading into the free agency period, heading into the draft period, right? They've got all the talent, all the pieces in place. It's about maybe making those one or two key moves to fill out the rest of the roster. Obviously, hoping Tua is going to be healthy going forward. He's got to be scored away. It looks like he will be. And there's news out of Miami and some reports circulating around that organization. They're making all the right moves to prepare to address some of their few weaknesses as they look to make a big push to potentially win the AFC East next year. This is exciting for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, Nick, with all of the additions to the Dolphins roster over the past 2 years, there are some guys who are really coming into their own and are kind of already starting their own legends with Miami. But Miami, historic team, a lot of great legendary seasons. We all remember the undefeated season. But that makes me think,
Remember?
who do you think is your quintessential Dolphin? When they put on the aqua blue, when they put on the orange, who do you see in the Dolphins uniform when they don those colors? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what exciting news do you have for the Dolphins?
Yeah, so obviously, as we prepare to free agency, teams look at where they sit and where they're situated and what moves they can make and how many moves they have to make to push them over the edge. For example, the Dolphins' rival in the AFC East, the New York Jets, are terrible at quarterback. So right now, they are all in on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. If they get it done, good for them. If they don't, bad for them. The Dolphins are in a pretty good position. They've got a really good roster. They got the right coach, and they've got the right quarterback, Tua, when healthy. Now that Tua is still on that rookie deal, and even when they extend him, it'll still be a team-friendly contract, at least for the first year or two of that extension. They have to surround him with elite-level talent on the offensive side of the football mainly. And what that means is they need cap space. They came into the offseason about $15 million over the cap. They are addressing that. So this is according to Clutch Points. The Miami Dolphins are restructuring the contract of outside linebacker Bradley Chubb, clearing $14.66 million in cap space. NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero wrote in a Thursday tweet. The Dolphins acquired Chubb from the Denver Broncos last year. Chubb played 8 games and started 7 since he landed in Miami. He earned 13 combined tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 12 quarterback hits, 2.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble with the Dolphins. He was invited to the Pro Bowl in his combined time with the Denver and Miami in 2022, his second invitation to the Pro Bowl in 5 NFL seasons. And this is paired with Miles reports that Byron Jones is designated for a June 1st release. That means it'll be more cap space being released for the Miami Dolphins to pair them up for a big move, Miles. And what this means, so if I talked about the Miami Dolphins going to the offseason about $15 million over the cap, so restructuring Chubb's contract basically put him at dead even. Okay, so in a decent spot there, they need one more move. When you factor in the release of Byron Jones, a June 1st designation, it means that according to overthecap.com, they'll free up another $14.8 million in cap space. So that is an incredible amount of cap space to free up for the Miami Dolphins, considering how good they are. Right? How rare is it that we see a roster that's talented, that, you know, they've got playmakers on both sides of the football, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they got their quarterback, right? They got all these pieces in place, good secondary and Xavier Howard and Javon Holland. Like, they got a lot of good pieces in place, and they're going to have $15 million of cap space to play with to maybe address one or two weaknesses to push them over the hump. And this is the offseason, right? This is the chance for the Dolphins to get it right. And they understand that. So that's why it's a big credit to Greer and company there over Miami, recognizing that, okay, we make a couple key salary cap moves right now. We address one or two key positions, and then bam, we're right there in Super Bowl contention that quick in 2023. Give me your thoughts on this, Miles, and everything with the Miami and what they could potentially do with this cap space that just opened up.
Yeah, Nick, the cap space is huge. And as you said, this roster is already pretty full up with superstar talent all around the ball. The main concerns I see are the defensive backs and the offensive line. And I think they probably address one with a big free agency signing, and they address the other through the draft. I think the most likely one to be addressed through the draft will be the defensive back. Obviously, we all watched the combine. We saw there was like 17 defensive backs that run 4.3 40s. So there's a lot of like really interesting, talented guys out here to pair up with your new young guy, Kader Kohu, who did very well last year. We all saw him, and obviously, you know, there could be a return to form with Xavier Howard as well. So there's some very interesting prospects in the draft this year for the cornerback position, but there's also some very interesting offensive line prospects for the Dolphins in free agency. Falcons potentially moving on from Caleb McGarry. That would be a really good one. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and this freeing up of the cap space has given the Dolphins the opportunity to flesh out this roster just a little bit more and make them, like you said, the pinnacle team, the team in the AFC that everyone's going to look at on paper and say, this is the roster. This is a team that can make it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because one of the things the Dolphins, I think, don't get enough credit for, Miles, is they've done a great job setting up the roster the past few years without having a lot of dead money. So dead money, for people who aren't familiar, is a salary cap space allocated to players who aren't on your team. So guys that you signed big deals with, and then you didn't like them halfway through the contract, they weren't playing good or whatever, and so you cut them and traded and moved on. But part of that salary cap hit, that guaranteed money, will stay on your books. The Miami Dolphins only have $3 million of dead cap money. Wow. That's well above average. Average in the NFL is around $9-10 million bucks. So when you put yourself in a position like that, not a lot of dead money, so you can use your entire salary cap just to build up a quality roster, which the Dolphins have done to this point. And then that gives you wiggle room, right? You can make a move to restructure Bradley Chubb. You can move off Byron Jones, who reportedly by his own account can't really jump anymore. And that gives you the chance to go out and get a guy like McGarry, who I think is a great addition, could really upgrade this offensive line that's good in some spots, but has some weaknesses in some others. So I think that'd be a final piece. And one of the final lessons, right? And this is why the Dolphins, I think, are really doing a great job, is we talk about it all the time, guys. When you have a young quarterback on the rookie deal or going into that extension period, we're still going to be cheap. You go all in. That is the lesson learned. Like, look at the Baltimore Ravens are a great example of this. They had Lamar Jackson. They weren't able to go in with offensive help around him. Now we see where they end up, right? You look at the Bengals, Joe Burrow went all in, worked out great. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, all in, worked out great. The Miami Dolphins have followed and continue to follow that same formula with Tua. And I think they're set up for one or two more key moves this offseason that they think will put them over the hump. And right now, if I'm a Dolphins fan, you're just waiting for that one final piece, and then you're ready for 2023 to make a serious run at this thing.